Last time on 999.
That door at the end of the hallway. There's something written on it.
Yeah, let's go have a look.
It is interesting that E-Deck wasn't flooded.
Well, we don't really know if all of E-Deck is safe.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. I feel like I'm gonna puke.
I want to go through door 6.
Junpei flipped open the piece of paper. It read, Junpei, door 6. Of course it did. He'd written it after all.
That's a problem.
June spoke barely above a whisper, but they all knew what she'd said.
None of these teams will be able to go through the doors they want.
Clover and I chose door 1.
Lotus and I chose door 2.
That's not enough people to open a numbered door, however.
The digital route's not gonna match up either.
We've got similar problems. Junpei and I want to go through door 6. But our digital route is 5. If we're gonna open that door, we need a 1.
Damn. What are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
Junpei crossed his arms and did his best to put his thoughts in order. The others followed suit, but with little result. Eventually, Clover broke the silence.
Why don't Seven and Lotus go through door 1? With me.
Her face was cold and flat, as was her voice, but her logic was sound. Seven and Lotus looked at each other. The first problem resolved, Ace spoke up.
What about me?
Isn't that obvious? Wasn't one of the teams just complaining that they didn't have a 1?
You mean, I should join Santa's team?
Clover nodded, her face still cold and emotionless. Her attitude and posture could not have been more different than the energetic girl of only a few hours before. No one seemed ready to contradict her. Her response was understandable given the horrible situation in which she had found herself, but even so.
I understand. I will go through door 6 then. If we do as Clover has suggested, we can all pass through a numbered door. No one will be left behind. This seems to be the most reasonable solution.
7, Lotus, what do you guys think?
I don't have a problem with it.
Me either.
All right then, we're good to go.
At last, Junpei and the other 6 had managed to separate themselves into 2 teams. Clover, 7, and Lotus headed to A deck, where the door 1 was near the main staircase. Junpei, June, Ace, and Santa, however, took the elevator to E deck. The ride to E deck was a silent one.
Alright, let's go.
Santa's words jolted them to action, and they stepped out of the elevator into a long, straight hallway. Before long, they arrived in front of door 6. One by one, they put their palms over the red. With a soft electronic noise, it authenticated each of them. The door opened, and all at once the 4 of them leapt through it. Fortunately, the dead was located easily enough. This one had been placed quite close to the door they'd entered through. They gathered around it quickly, and hurriedly placed their palms on it for authentication one by one.
It stopped.
Yes, it stopped.
The countdown had ceased, but Junpei's heart was still pounding in his chest like a frantic, thunderous drum. It felt as though it might shake itself up and out of his throat. He'd been through the doors 3 times before, but repetition had not dulled the experience. He was not anxious to find it dulled, however. He hoped to be free of the ridiculous game long before that happened.
All right, let's go!
With that attempt at good humor, Junpei took a deep breath and began to walk. He jogged down the stairs at the end of the hallway and found himself staring at a large door. It was a heavy thing, made of iron and more than a little threatening. He took hold of the bar that served as its doorknob and shoved it down. The room beyond stopped him in his tracks. It was gargantuan and made entirely of metal. None of the accents of wood or tile he'd seen in the rest of the ship. This room was purely functional, but utterly tremendous.
Whoa! What the hell is this?
Santa got out a few words before awe stole the rest of them. The rest were too stunned to offer anything more than gasps. It was easily the largest room they'd seen, and yet it was somehow closed and oppressive. The ceiling was at least 2 stories high, if not significantly more. It was easily several hundred feet across, and appeared to stretch the entire width of the ship. In the center of that gargantuan room stood a massive, rounded building. Even from a distance, the sheer bulk of it was oppressive. Junpei could feel the room, the building, even the air, pressing down on him. Junpei and the others were standing on scaffolding that crisscrossed the whole area. The proper term was catwalk, Junpei thought, although that didn't seem particularly important.
All right, let's head downstairs.
Nearby was a long iron staircase that made its way eventually to the floor beneath them. They moved around toward the opposite side of the massive building, following the catwalk. They hadn't said much as they walked, but as they approached the building, Ace suddenly spoke up.
This looks to be the steam engine room.
The steam engine room?
Yes, the thing that looks like a cross-section of a mushroom is the boiler. Do you see the 3 round doors near the bottom? Coal is put into those, and burned, which heats the water, producing steam. The same thing that drives a steam engine. This one is simply somewhat larger.
I see.
Even if Ace was right, the boiler was boiling nothing as they approached it. The entire room was as silent as the grave. Suddenly, Junpei heard a noise behind him. He turned just in time to see June collapse to her knees.
Hey! What's wrong? Are you alright?
He dashed toward her and wrapped his arm around her shoulders to steady her. It was then that he noticed.
You're really warm. Is your fever coming back?
Yes. Yes, probably is. But I'm fine. Please don't worry about me. I just need to rest, and I'll be fine.
Her voice was weak and forced, and it said a great deal more than her words did. Junpei carried her to the nearest wall and propped her up against it. She let her head fall back against the wall as if she no longer had the strength to support it, and drew a ragged breath. Her eyes were empty, as if she was having trouble focusing them, and even speaking seemed difficult for her. Junpei felt his hand ball itself into a fist and clench tight, his knuckles whitening. He had to find a way out, and quickly. He turned and looked at Ace and Santa in turn. They might not have shared the depth of his emotion, but they certainly shared his concern. He didn't need words to express the urgency of their situation.
Alright, let's get started. Hang in there, June. I'm gonna get you out of here real soon.
She managed a small nod before leaning back to rest her head on the wall.
Alright, June. Let's find a way out.
I'd say this is probably here to move coal from place to place. Probably comes from over there, and the belt carries it down the tunnel and out here.
So, if the conveyor belt was moving...
Yes, the coal would almost certainly come out here.
It's a square hole. Nothing in here.
Ah, look at the back wall there. I can see 3 small slots. Terminals for some sort of connector, perhaps?
You mean you think we're supposed to plug something in here?
Perhaps.
Look, Ace! It's some kind of snowman secret meeting!
Those are just bags full of sand. You use them as a counterweight when you're lifting something with a pulley system.
Man, you're too serious.
What is this?
Given its placement, this must unlock the door to the left.
There's a weird indentation on top of this thing. You think that means you have to insert something here?
Yes, I would imagine so.
Oh man, Junpei! I can't believe I missed something so important!
What's so important?
Look at those stairs! Look real carefully! Look at those motherfucking stairs! That gap! That height! That angle! It's perfect!
Perfect? Perfect for what?
Whatever, just bring Clover here, right now! Tell her she needs to walk up and down those stairs. I'm not high, I swear.
Huh? Clover's not here. What the hell is he talking about? There's a barrel under the stairs. Sweet.
Unfortunately, it's empty.
This slider is down. I guess Ace feels like giving it a try.
Nothing. It won't move at all.
The 3 sliders on the left are down. This one is up.
There are a number of lines engraved in these. I suspect we're meant to do something rather specific with them.
Junpei, why don't you move that slider down?
Well, there's no harm in trying, I suppose.
Nothing.
Nothing happened.
Maybe it needs to be prepared somehow?
You're saying if we did something somewhere else, it'd respond somehow?
Yes. I suppose that's one way of putting it.
You guys, I just noticed. We should start a boy band. There's another door, too.
Yeah. It looks like it would be really hard to get there by walking on the scaffolding, though, you know? I mean, it's not impossible, but it'd be pretty risky. I think maybe we ought to look for a safer route first.
There's a catwalk over there.
Yeah, if by catwalk you mean narrow strip of metal.
Junpei, are you brave enough to cross that? If you were to fall, you do realize that broken bones would be the least of your problems.
One of the doors on the furnace. There's an A on it. There's a circular wheel in the center of the door. Alright, let's give that sucker a twist. Well, it's noisy, but it opens. And it's totally pitch black in there. We should, go in here.
Alright.
Let's go.
This looks just like the door we went into.
Where are we?
We must be on the other side. Yes?
Which would put us directly above the conveyor belt.
At any rate, we should keep moving. There's a great deal we've yet to investigate.
Well, anyway, looks like that's the pipe. Looks like the bottom connects to the conveyor belt housing.
Then the coal must come out of this pipe onto the conveyor belt. In other words, there must be a great deal of coal in that pipe.
All right, let's give this wheel a spin. What? That's weird. I don't feel any resistance. Ah! Oh, shit!
Good job, genius! You broke it!
I didn't break it! It broke all by itself! A hand-operated winch. The wheel it once had is now in my hand. Let's see if I can get it back on. There's a couple of posts on the back of it that look like they fit into holes on the winch. Damn, no good. These little shafts are too small for this big hole.
That's what she said!
It's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway, to be honest.
If that's the case, then.
That wheel wasn't originally part of that winch.
Then that means... the hand-operated winch. There's no wheel to turn. Oh, yeah. I've got the wheel I pulled off the other winch, don't I? Let's see if it fits. Sweet. It's a perfect fit. Like they were made for each other.
That's what she said!
Not shaky at all. Good. I should be able to turn this now.
Good work, Junpei. We should be able to haul up the wooden box now. You see? The wooden box. It's under the catwalk. Can you see it? It's hanging from the rope on a winch, isn't it? It looks like there's some sort of device in the box. I'm not sure what it is. At any rate, you might as well turn that wheel now. I'm counting on you.
All right, I'll turn the wheel. Huh? What's this?
What happened?
This wheel only turns to the left.
It only turns to the left?
That means we can't reel up that rope.
Yeah, we can only let the rope down.
Interesting. I don't think that will be a problem. We will simply need to go downstairs after letting the wooden box down. I'll be counting on you, Junpei.
Sure thing. No sweat.
I believe the box has reached the floor.
Yeah.
He stuck his head out over the side of the catwalk and looked down. The box that had only recently hung just below the catwalk now sat on the floor. It had come to rest near the end of the tunnel that covered the conveyor belt, near where June had collapsed. Junpei could see her, still leaning against the wall as if she barely had the strength to sit up. Even from so far away, it was not difficult to see that she had not improved. He almost thought he could see heat rising from her body.
She doesn't seem to be improving.
Ace's expression was inscrutable, but he'd said what they had all been thinking.
Well, of course not. She's not just gonna get better right away, you know? It'll take time.
He tried desperately to convince himself that what he'd said was true.
What could be causing this, I wonder? Illness, perhaps?
Nah, it's gotta be exhaustion.
Santa's response was confident and certain.
She gets dropped into some weird-ass ship, forced to play some messed-up game. If you think about it, it's a lot weirder that we aren't freaking out just like her, you know?
So you're saying we're abnormal?
Yeah. We're just running around this room, solving all these puzzles like it's just business as usual. How the hell could you call that normal? We're just guinea pigs.
Santa snorted in disgust.
A guinea pig. You mean like a lab rat? You mean we're being used for some sort of experiment? Is that what you're saying?
Dunno. But it does seem like a possibility, you know?
With that, he turned and walked away from the winch. Junpei and Ace followed him.
You know, speaking of experiments...
Santa suddenly stopped.
There was this experiment some scientists did with rats. First, they took a squarish sea-like tank and filled it with enough water that the rats could drown. The tank had 2 exits, A and B. Exit A is pitch black, so dark even a rat can't see anything. Exit B, however, is electrified, which means the rat can't leave through it. So, what would a rat do if it was put in this situation? Which exit would the rat choose?
There was a moment of silence after Santa posed the question, and then Ace responded.
B, of course. The rat has no way of knowing that exit B is electrified.
Exactly. The rat goes to exit B. Of course, like I said, it's electrified, which means the rat can't get out that way. So, after a lot of trial and error, the rat finally finds exit A.
I can't say that's very interesting or relevant. It's simply the story of a laboratory experiment.
Well, fuck you too. You're right. It isn't very interesting. Yet. The scientists repeated this experiment over and over, using hundreds of different rats over several generations. They produced some surprising results. With each generation of rats, they took less time to find the correct exit. Eventually, a rat was put in the tank, who instantly chose exit A without even attempting to go to exit B. But even that wasn't the most impressive thing. The same experiment was conducted in another laboratory, far from the original one, with the same results. No, on second thought, the results weren't really the same. The rats in the second experiment began the trials with significantly faster times than the first rats in the initial experiment. These rats were not related to the rats used in the first experiment, and had never even come in contact with them, and yet, they all easily found their way out to exit A, as though they already knew. What did it mean?
Are you suggesting something like telepathy? They were passing information to one another through some undetectable medium?
Ace looked skeptical. Santa snorted at him.
How the hell would I know? I'm not any kind of scientist. I don't know what made him do that. But I do know the story's true, and if you got another explanation, I'd sure love to hear it. Come on, let's get going. There's still a lot here we haven't checked out. And we gotta get the hell out of here before June passes out.
Without waiting for a response, he turned around and started walking. Junpei, however, wasn't quite ready to leave the topic alone.
Hey, wait. There's something I want to ask you.
Santa stopped and turned around.
Why did they use that tank for the experiment?
Huh?
Well, I mean, it seems like you could conduct the same experiment without the water. They could have just used a dry box, you know? If they needed to motivate the rats to escape, they could have, I don't know, put some bait by exit B or something. I mean, do they really have to make it so the rats can drown?
Santa gave a grim bark and laughed.
You know the word emergency comes from the same root as the word emerge? You ever think about that?
Huh?
Well, an emergency is something urgent, often something dangerous. And to emerge means to sort of come out or appear or rise out of something. Or to rise out of something else. So what's going to emerge in an emergency? Inspiration.
Inspiration?
Yeah. Think about it. When the chips are down, either you crack or your mind focuses and pulls up what you need.
So in an emergency, your real potential emerges? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's why the rats had to drown. They had to be in danger. There had to be an emergency for inspiration to emerge.
Junpei suddenly felt cold. The back of his head was aching, and his stomach felt strange.
There's a bunch of wooden... okay, never mind. Maybe this hole is where the control panel goes. Well, there's only one way to find out. In you go!
Dude, you did it! Everything looks alright.
Okay, but what do we do now?
Why don't you press the button next to it?
The orange one.
Yes.
Alright, I'll do that. Pushing! Sweet! All sorts of lights are lighting up on this thing. And, oh! Yes! I think I just heard something turn on! Huh? What's that? What happened?
Junpei, look! The conveyor belt's moving!
The conveyor belt? Well, I guess it's done moving now. There's still a bunch of coal on the belt, though. It looks like a bunch of it got dumped off the end of the belt into that wooden box where we found the control panel. Coal. Coal, huh?
A wooden box full of coal. Guess there's really only one thing we can do with this stuff.
There's a hole that'll let us put coal into the furnace. Maybe if we can get some coal in there and set it on fire... Okay, let's do it. Alright, that's the last of it. No coal left in the wooden box. And nothing. Great. Well, I guess I shouldn't have expected that. Why would just throwing coal into a cold furnace do anything? Ah, well, a man can dream.
Junpei, explain it to me again. You're planning to stoke the furnace with coal, which will heat the water stored up there and make steam, which will then drive something else. Am I correct?
In other words, you want to generate enough pressure with the steam to power the turbine and drive the steam engine, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the, gist of it.
Well, in that case, this isn't enough coal.
This furnace is enormous, so we're gonna need a whole hell of a lot more coal than that.
Very well then. If the three of us work together, we should manage to fill it much faster.
I want to help too.
Man, I totally didn't even see her walk up. Are you feeling up to that?
Yes.
Yeah, right. You look like you're one stiff breeze away from falling over, June. I think you'd better rest some more, alright?
But
No arguing! You need your rest, so you just stay there, and we'll handle this.
Okay. I understand.
Alright. Time for some manly work! Let's get this coal into those furnaces! Man, this is a lot of work.
All right. I think this should be sufficient.
All right, now we just gotta light it. Junpei, hand me your matches.
What makes you think I have matches?
I see. Then how are we going to light it?
Perhaps there's a device nearby that will allow us to remotely ignite the coal. Let's take a look, shall we?
Some sort of ignition device, huh?
next time on 999.
Hey, Junpei! Ace! Look at this! There's big gears turning under the boiler here. It's a photo. It's my sister.
Sister?
My vision has gone rather blurry, perhaps because of fatigue. I can't see very well at the moment.
Let's start project.